could tell you from my experience now. I've been like for the last like few years I've been talking a lot in front of people, and I really love it. But at the beginning, especially when I started talking mainly in English, it was very important for me not to miss this specific word that I when I wrote it. It was a very, a word that maybe I would not speak when I'm speaking with someone like fluently, but it sounded really really good. And I felt like much of the energy went there. Like I was so focused on not forgetting the specific very wise word that I thought about. And I felt that other than the fact that it was more like the technique, you felt the technique when you heard someone talking. It was more than that. I felt like for me, I didn't enjoy talking in front of people because it was so much. It was a burden, right?
Yeah.
And now,
I'm
like
sorry, I'm
when
laughing.
I, yeah, when, you should laugh because it was, and and now when I think about it, I always tell myself they never knew what I wanted to say. So if I make a mistake, nobody knows, right? So
And
nobody
so
knows it.
absolutely. And Adi, what was there? Do you remember that was there a moment that that switch happened, or was it gradual?
It was gradual, but there was a point I talked in the headquarters of Google in front of hundreds of people, and one of the slides didn't work, and there was like five bullets that I didn't see. And that was the point that I knew that I was the only one who knew that there were supposed five points was supposed to be on that slide, and I said like two or three of them, but afterwards, after like at the beginning, it was a shock, and afterwards, like nobody knew that, so I
Exactly.
forgot.
Nobody came to you afterwards and said, "Listen, your talk
Yeah,
was great, except for that point where you probably had 5 points, but you only said three." Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's
that was
amazing. It's very. You reminded me of a client I had a few years ago, who for her also someone who spoke a lot, and one of the biggest aha moments and the freeing moments was exactly that. Was realizing, oh wait, the audience has no idea what I prepared, and whatever happens in real time, that's it. That's what's supposed to happen. Phew.
yeah. And I heard Maya Angelou, and she said that people will not remember what you told them, but what you made them feel. And for me, and it's something that resonates with me all the time. I believe that is true in every conversation that you have. And when I do that kind of like the show that we have right now, for me, that's the most important part, because maybe there are like a list of questions that maybe I forgot or we didn't have time for several of them, but at least we had a very fluent and connected conversation. And for me, it's much more important because people actually, this is what moves them. This is what interests them to see two people connect, or to connect to an idea, or to connect to someone emotionally. So that's how I
Right.
see this show and what I'm doing.
I fully agree.
Yeah. So when we're talking about entrepreneurs, I guess that the word storytelling comes up a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
And and what do you think makes a really good entrepreneur successful and with storytelling? So and why is it so important to know storytelling? Because everybody's talking about storytelling. So
Everybody's talking about storytelling. I know. I find it
yeah.
very amusing in a way that it's such a new, it's such a buzzword now everywhere, everywhere around the world. It's suddenly caught as the buzzword, as everybody wants storytelling training, and they ask us, "Do you do storytelling?" And I tell them, "This is that's so basic." It's to me, it's like the question of or the trending storytelling. It's almost like, oh, there's a new thing that's trending. It's called breathing. So
Yeah.
because if you
By
think
the
about
way,
it,
it is
it
trending,
is,
right?
I know, because I know, I was
Like
actually
how
when I
to
was
breathe.
yes, it is trending in the same way, I think, that
Yeah.
storytelling in a way, meaning,
Mhm.
yes, it's something we've been doing naturally for thousands of years, probably breathing has been longer than storytelling.
Yeah.
But suddenly we understand that we can if we understand how to do it well, it can have a huge impact, a huge
Right.
effect. In
Right.
breathing, it's on usually on us. In storytelling, it's usually on others. Um,
Mhm.
but first of all, storytelling is not new. It's probably the most ancient way of communicating that we have. That's the natural way. PowerPoint is not the natural way. Data is not the natural way. But um, so, why is storytelling so effective? I think it's because we are really our brains have not evolved a lot since we were hunter gatherers um, I don't know, tens of thousands of years ago. I don't know, not that
Yeah.
long as far as
Mm.
evolution is concerned. So we have changed our environment, we have changed our way of living, but our brains have not caught up yet. So our the hunter gatherer brain, really what it needs to remember is not data, is not bullet points, is things like, oh, that plant, when you see a plant that looks like a heart, be careful, it's poisonous. Or yesterday, I went with my dog, because they had dogs. I went with my dogs hunting, and there next to the river, I saw a big a herd of deer. So go there. So it's those types of things that's what we needed to know and to understand. So our brain is hardwired to listen to stories and to remember elements of story. So what so that's a big buzz of storytelling. Now what I hear in business a lot is, okay, how do I do it with data? Or how do I don't have time to tell a huge story. And I
Yeah.
think there is where um, it's I think it's understanding that stories are a great hack for the brain of our
Yeah.
audiences.
Right.
So rather than tell a full story, because sometimes we don't have time, it's uh, uh, understanding what are those things in a story that make stories so sticky, and how can we use those in any page, in any communication. For example, something like sensory language, things we can imagine, things that so if we say um, I saw an animal, I can't imagine it. A deer, I can imagine. Or if we say our product will help. Now I don't have any. Of course, I don't have any example right now that I need one,
Of
because
course.
that's what happens. By the
Yeah.
way, a reason to I haven't done it
Do
myself,
hers.
but it's a reason to build your back pocket stories and examples so you can have them
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time.
Of
But
course.
but I do see it a lot in the business world where they say, "Well, I can't tell a story about my product that's about the insurance in the cloud." So yes, but you
Yeah.
can tell the story of the data scientist that today, when he goes to put data, he needs to type for 5 hours, and with our solution, he will come in, press one button, and there it appears. So I can have things that I can imagine. Press one button, I can imagine. So that's the
Yeah.
way to see if we have elements of story. Of course, again, it's a universe. I'm bringing just one
Yeah.
small
Of
example. You
course.
don't need a full story. You do need things like sensory language and specific images of a user, for example.
Yeah.